Welcome back. In the first module, we talked about what is the meaning of life. In this module, I want to share with you what is purpose. I want to give you the definition of purpose, and then we'll talk what are some of the principles of purpose that you and I must imbibe for us to actually truly live a life of purpose. All right. So, what is purpose? Purpose is the original intent, the original desire, the original reason in the heart of the creator of a thing for creating that thing. And I was intentional to use the word original reason because there are fabricated reasons, manufactured reasons, assumptions and presuppositions that people often come up with because they believe they can guess the purpose of anything. And the truth is, listen to this. Purpose is never obvious. I remember someone looking at me one time and saying, Samuel, the way you look like a lawyer. The way you talk, you should be a radio DJ. I've heard that said to me many times, especially when I was young. People try to guess your purpose. But the truth is, purpose is not obvious. It's not obvious. You can't look at a thing and guess its purpose. So because it has a screen, maybe it's a television. No, it doesn't always happen like that. Whenever I speak in front of an audience, I would normally, ask them if they know the purpose of the iPad. All right. This is the iPad, one iPad that I have right in front of me right here. Okay. And I would often ask them if they know. And many of them would say a lot of things. They would say things like, okay, the purpose of the iPad is for convenience, is for taking photos. And I want you to pause this video really quickly. Pause this video right now. And I want to ask you as well, okay, what is the purpose of the iPad? Sorry, before you pause the video, what is the purpose of the iPad? What do you think is the purpose? Write down two to three things you reckon are the purposes, all right, or the core purpose of the iPad. Write it somewhere. Now you can pause the video. Think about it. Okay. I want to believe that you've thought very deeply about it and you've written down something. Okay. Now we're going to play a clip for you. And this clip has the explanation of the purpose of the iPad from the very creator of the iPad, the person of the late Steve Jobs. All right. And he said a few things, and I want you to listen to it. Have a listen. Welcome back. Did you hear Steve Jobs say something so powerful, really powerful? He said that if the iPad isn't better than the phone and the laptop, it has no reason for being. Did you hear that part? I want to believe you heard that part. Very powerful. In other words, the word reason there is the word purpose. If this thing is not better than the phone and the laptop, it has no purpose. The purpose of the iPad is that it is better than the phone or the laptop. Let me ask you a question. Remember how I asked you to write down what you thought was the purpose of the iPad before? Now look into your notes. All right, let's go back into your notes. Did it sound anything like what Steve Jobs, the creator of the iPad, said? No. Let's examine. It's time to be accountable. I'm sure you did not guess the purpose right, because you can't guess the purpose of a thing. You can't just look at a thing and guess its purpose. No, purpose is not always obvious. And whenever the purpose of a thing is not known, we are likely to function below the potential of that thing. Some of you would have written down that the purpose of the iPad is to take photos. The purpose of the iPad is for convenience, is for portability. Like many people say whenever I ask them these questions. But we just heard from the creator. And that's why I believe very strongly that purpose is the original intent. It has to be the original. Not the manufactured, not the guesswork. It has to be the original intent in the heart of the creator of that thing. So until you go to the creator of a thing to ask its purpose, you can't really say you know the purpose. You cannot. You cannot truly say you know the purpose. Another definition of purpose that I like is that it's the desired results that initiates production. Another definition is that it is the destination that prompts the journey. I often ask people, what's the most important part of a journey? Some people say it's the start and all of that. But the truth is, the most important part of a journey is the destination. I love the words of Earl Nightingale when he said that success is the progressive realization towards an ideal. And I want to make you think here, what is success? In the light of what I've just shared with you, what sort of ideal should we be progressing towards if we truly are pursuing success? The truth is, the greatest ideal for a successful life is the purpose of God for your life. And let me define purpose in this context of the ideal that I believe would really help you, and make it simple. See, purpose is who you were created to become and what you are created to do in life. And I always try to say it like this, that the becoming is like 80%. The doing is 20%. God is more interested in your becoming, in who you are becoming, than what you are doing. He told Jeremiah, he said, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you and I have set you apart. In other words, you are consecrated to me. You're separated unto me. Right? God is more interested in who you are becoming than what you do. Because when what you do becomes an outflow of who you're becoming, you live an authentic life. But many times, many of us are just asking, what can I do? What should I do? It starts with who you are becoming. That's why the Bible says that Jesus, first of all, called the disciples to himself. First of all, follow me and I will make you. All right. So it's not about what you do, So stop chasing, what should I be doing? Maybe that's my purpose. And I always tell people, purpose is not what you do. Purpose is why you do it. And if that why is not God's why, or if that why doesn't align with God's why, you're not fulfilling purpose. You could be excelling, you could be doing great things, you could be out there doing phenomenal things. And whereas earth is clapping for you, heaven is wondering, what's this guy doing? What is this guy doing with his life? Jesus got to a fig tree the other day, and the Bible says the fig tree was full of leaves. Full of leaves, deceiving people, thinking it had fruits on it, so to speak. Unfortunately for that tree, Jesus was very hungry, and Jesus was looking for fruits. By the time he got to the tree, no fruits, but it had leaves, green, effervescence, glowing, cyanosia, but it had no fruits on it. Listen, a life that is successful, materially successful, financially successful, and void of the purpose of God for his or her life is like that fig tree. And we know something about the fig tree very carefully. Jesus cursed it. See, there will come times in our lives God will come seeking fruit of you, seeking whether your life is actually producing what it's intended to produce. And when that life is not producing what it's intended to produce, you're not fulfilling purpose. I've seen many young people today are making, some famous celebrities their role model. They admire the singers of this world, some of the, famous people in this world. But I make bold to say many of them are not fulfilling purpose, because truly purpose is not about fame. There are many people who are doing great and mighty things and they are not famous. There are many people who are fulfilling purpose and are not famous. All right. God, purpose and fame are not often congruent. They are not often on the same plane. And this is why it's so important for you to know, because when you know the purpose of God for your life, you're not pursuing things that do not matter. You focus so that you can live a life that God truly is grateful, that God truly is happy about. It reminds me of that parable, that a tree had been planted for many years and there was no fruit on it. And God and the master would send the servant to go have a look, and there was no fruit. Send him again to have a look, and there was no fruit. Until one year the master said, it's about time we cut this thing down. And there's nothing that will come out of this. And the servant pleaded for one more year. I feel like there are many people like that who God is like pleading, oh, Jesus is pleading 1 more year. Lord, just give him 1 more year. Lord, just have mercy on this boy. Just have mercy on this lady. Hopefully this year they will find their purpose. Hopefully on this M2G platform, as you're watching this will drive you towards discovering God's purpose for your life so that your life will truly be meaningful. See, I used to be like that. Since the age of 14, one of my greatest desires was to become a professor. I'd conceived this dream, this ambition, out of seeing that I loved to teach. And every time I closed my eyes to imagine my future, I would see myself in front of a large audience. And many times God had shown me in dreams and visions. But in my myopic mind, as a 14-year-old, I interpreted that to mean I was going to be a professor. So I wrote it down. And what that meant was it drove my ambition. I was driven. I completed my bachelor's. I found out from mentors and all of that I needed to have a PhD to become a professor. So I wrote it down. I wrote down the journey of my life. I had it all planned out. The original plan was that before the age of 25, I was going to have my PhD. But of course, I was living in Nigeria at the time that I wrote this down, and you understand all of the ASU strikes and all of that. My dream would have never been possible. But guess what? Eventually, God made it possible. Listen to this. Before I finished my bachelor's as well, I'd applied for my master's, and I got the master's admission, conditional upon the bachelor's. And before I finished the master's, I got a PhD admission as well, conditional on finishing my master's. So my life was literally going in order of my own personal plans. And to the glory of God, we had moved out of Nigeria after a while. I won't bore you with the rest of the story. And at 26, I finished my PhD. I finished my thesis, that is. I think I graduated. I did the graduation the year after. But the truth is this, listen, despite all of that, I still felt a void, a sense of emptiness, that sense that there is more to life than wanting to become a professor, than just becoming successful. I felt the void. I felt the emptiness. I hope you can relate. If you can relate, I want to plead with you. Please don't let the void linger for too long, because it's dangerous. There are many people who have allowed their emptiness, they have that feeling of void to linger for so long. And because of that, many people have allowed that emptiness to spiral into depression, spiral into hopelessness, and sometimes even into suicidal thoughts. But one of the core ways to address the void is to take that void to your Creator. And that was what I did in 2016. Like you, I was listening to a man who talked about purpose. And luckily, I also read the book In Pursuit of Purpose by the late Dr. Miles Monroe. And if you're watching this, I highly recommend that book. Okay. And I read the book, and I also listened to the man. And I remember the man giving a powerful recommendation of what I must do to address my void. So I went after it. And on the 16th of December 2016, I heard clearly what my purpose was. And it was to help other people discover their purpose so that they can maximize their potential. And I wrote them down. I wrote it down. Do you know, since then, my life has gained tremendous focus and progress. Purpose gives your life tremendous focus and progress. All of a sudden, you know what to focus on. The rest of your pursuit is motivated by that one thing. No wonder Paul said, this one thing I do. This one thing I do. When you know your purpose, all of a sudden you know the one thing. Your void is filled, is addressed. Just like the preacher in Ecclesiastes said, that God has put eternity in the heart of man. There is an eternity shaped. Remember I told you eternity is what gives life meaning in module 1. There is an eternity shaped void in every man. And the answer to that eternity shaped void is purpose. When you know the purpose of God for your life, you are able to do better. In the words of Maya Angelou, when you know better, you do better. When you know the purpose of God for your life, you're able to live better. I hope this has helped you. We'll see you in Module 3.